be advised that this recorded webinar has been edited from its original format, which may have included a product demo. To set up a live demo or to request more information, please complete the form to the right. Or if you are currently not on CSC Global, there is a link to the website in the description of this video. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Why a .au is a critical component of your domain security. My name is Christy DeMeo-Ziegler, and I will be your moderator. Joining us today are Jae-Seo, Bruce Tonkin, and Elish Wang. Jae-Seo is the APAC Regional Director of CSC with over 15 years of industry experience. He has spearheaded a growth of APAC enterprise team in the Oceania since 2007 and has continued its regional expansion. Today, CSC's Asia's presence is represented by its established footprint in Australia, Greater China, Japan, and Singapore. Jace has represented CSC through various speaking engagements at known industry forums on cybersecurity and intellectual property topics. Bruce Tonkin is currently Chief Operating Officer for .au Domain Administration Limited, ALDA. ALDA is the administrator of and the Australian self-regulatory policy body for the .au CCTLD and its associated second-level domains. Prior to that, he spent 18 years at Melbourne IT in various roles, including Chief Technology Officer and Chief Strategy Officer. In addition, he spent over 9 years as a director on the board of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, ICANN, in various roles including Vice Chair, Chair of Risk, Governance, and Compensation Committees, and was also a member of the GNSO Council and Security and Stability Advisory Committee for many years. Elish Wang is the head of APAC Account Management with over 10 years of experience in the industry. She's responsible for business retention, building and expanding relationships with C-level executives. Her engagement with key stakeholders frequently requires managing critical contract negotiations, providing strategic advice, and driving the growth of accounts that span across the Asia-Pacific region. And with that, let's welcome Jace, Bruce, and Elish.
Hi everyone, welcome again to our webinar, and pleased you made time today. In today's session, we will be covering two key components in our presentation. The first part is on the upcoming launch of .au, its timelines and requirements. The second part will be presented by Jace on how domains form a critical component of your brand strategy and security strategy. Next slide, please, Christy. It's been more than 20 years since the third-level domain was launched. Therefore, we are very excited in welcoming a new addition to the Australian domain name space. The official launch date is on the 24th of March, which is less than 2 weeks away from today. This is known as the .au Direct launch, and .au Direct names are also referred to as second-level names. So, why should you consider registering a .au name? Not only it will complement your existing suite of third-level names, namely your .com.au, .net.au, and .org.au, but it is another option in delivering a wider choice of available names in the Australian domain. This will be a strong country code TLD, aka CCTLD, to be included as part of your overall brand strategy. And not to mention, Google uses CCTLDs to geo-target websites because of their high visibility in the relevant markets. And of course, it will help in keeping the URL structure clean, short, and memorable with the shorter TLD, especially for easier mobile navigation as well. So in order to participate in this launch, one of the key criteria is to ensure your eligibility. From a commercial eligibility perspective, you will need to be either a company registered in Australia or operating under a registered business name in any Australian state and territory, Australian partnership, and or sole trader. Next slide, please, Christy. The .au Direct is launched in two separate phases, priority application phase and general availability phase. Within the priority application phase, which commences on the 24th of March, it gives existing holders of a third level name the priority to register the .au exact match through the priority allocation process. There are two categories in this process. Category 1, domain name licenses with creation date on or before 4th of Feb 2018. Category 2, domain name licenses with a creation date after 4th of Feb 2018. This phase will run for a period of 6 months before it moves into the general availability phase. The phase commences on the 20th of September and is available to any interested party for registration, and domains are allocated on the first-come, first-served basis. I shall now hand over to Bruce to further share insights on key operating considerations to look out for in this launch. Over to you, Bruce.
Thank you. So just starting with key dates, as mentioned, so the process to begin registering domain names begins on the 24th of March this month. And existing holders of a domain name in the registry have from the 24th of March to the 20th of September to register a name that matches their current name. And then after the 20th of September, if the name's not registered, it becomes available to the general public. The benefits of .au Direct are essentially uniquely Australian. It gives of website and email addresses because particularly .com.au, there's more than 3 million names already registered there, so most short names or short phrases are already registered. And it's also, by having a shorter name, makes it easier for people to type it into a browser or use voice-activated devices, whether it's a mobile phone or in-car or the various devices that people have in their homes where you can basically request to visit a website based on giving a voice command. Typical uses that we see for the .au name, one is we expect a lot of companies will register the direct name. So in our case, it's outer.au and then redirect it to their existing website. The other common scenario is to register new names for the use in advertising campaigns. So we're currently doing outdoor advertising, radio and social media, and we're using sort of short names like stoke.au to demonstrate marketing and also use of the .au direct names. And on this slide just gives a list of other active sites that you can visit today. And we also have blogs that give a bit more information about the uses of the .au Direct. Wanted to draw attention to 3 types of .au Direct registration, which is during this priority period. So the first type is when you are registering a brand new name. Second type is when you're registering a name that's where there's only one matching name in the registry. And the last case is where there's a multiple match of names in the registry. So starting with the easiest one, if you want to register a brand new name, most registrars will provide a search function, and we'll have a search function on our website. You need to provide your Australian presence information to register a name, and the registrar needs to validate that information. For a company that's typically an ABN or a not-for-profit organisation, if it's a company registered or based outside of Australia, typically that requires providing the Australian trademark number to establish an Australian presence, and the domain name that's being registered must be an exact match to that trademark. And then if you're an individual, you'd need to provide ID, typically a driver's licence. And a .au name can be registered for up to 5 years. And at the end of this process, within 5 minutes, the name's available in the global DNS. The next category is where there's a single match. This is also fairly straightforward. So there are more than 3 million names registered in ComAU out of a total of 3.4 million names. So most names, there's only a single match and it's in ComAU. There's a priority status tool. There's a URL for that. You type in your name. It'll tell you if there's any other matches. And if you're the only person holding a name in the registry that matches that name, then you register the .au direct name using the same company information. And the registrar, again, needs to validate that your existing registration is valid. And that typically means checking that the company registration is still valid. So it's currently registered with the Australian Securities Commission. And then checking your eligibility for the direct name. Again, if it's a foreign company, that's checking that the domain name being applied for is a match to your Australian trademark. And again, the name can be registered for up to 5 years and it will be made available immediately in the DNS. The third scenario is where there's multiple matches. And this occurs in less than 5% of the names in the registry. In this case, when you apply for the name, it'll go into a pending registration status. And the registry checks every day to see if the contention between the multiple potential applicants can be resolved. Once that contention is resolved, the name is immediately registered for 1 year, and the expiry date will basically be 1 year from the date that the contention is resolved. So when there's multiple matches, we have divided names into two priority categories. The first category is names registered more than 4 years ago, before the 4th of February 2018. And the second category is names, startups typically, or marketing or new products that have been registered since 2018. The basic prioritisation rules is if you're a Category 1 applicant, you've got priority over any Category 2 applicant. If there are multiple Category 1 applicants, then those applicants need to reach an agreement amongst themselves as to who will be allocated the name. And then if there's multiple Category 2 applicants, so for example, you just registered the name a year ago, the first person to register the name will have priority over anybody who has since registered a matching name in NetAU or OrgAU or ID.au. A common scenario that we see is that a lot of corporations register both the ComAU and the NetAU. And in this case, what you would do is you would apply for one of those names, so for example, .com.au, and then you explicitly decline the other one, the NetAU, and the name will be allocated to you the following day. We've got a dedicated website that allows you to decline or withdraw an existing application to resolve contention. It looks something like this. It'll be a website and there's a button there called Decline to Apply that I've circled in red. You put in your domain name and your name. It will then send a message to your email address that's on file at the registry. You then click through and explicitly decline, and then the application would be withdrawn. So very common in cases where companies have registered both the ComAU and the NetAU name. And then this slide, which is being made available to you later, but these are just some links that might be useful for you. So it's some blogs that we have on our website. You may find the domain names tool page useful. That will provide links to things like our WHOIS service, the prioritisation service, priority status tool, and also how to decline an application if you wish to decline the NetAU, which is fairly common. So happy to finish at that point.
Thank you, Bruce, and hello again. CSC is here to assist you in every step of the way. So how can we help? We will help to validate the eligibility of your existing domains that you are keen to participate in the .au launch. by giving you the visibility and comprehensive audit to ensure key information such as ABN is still relevant and correct. And should you feel unsure on where to start, we can provide you with recommendations on registrations to align with your overall brand strategy. And of course, when you're ready to proceed, we will ensure smooth execution of your registrations. Last but not least, and a step not to be missed with your digital presence, CSC is here to provide strategic recommendations in implementing security measures that are readily available to protect your new registrations from frauds and infringements. On that note, with security measures, let's move on to our second part of presentation. And now over to you, Jace.
Thank you, Elish, and thanks so much to Bruce as well for the important insights to the .au direct launch. From my end, I would like to discuss some key industry updates with our audience today because a lot has happened in the past weeks or months. So to start off with, I will talk about the global advisory surrounding the Ukraine crisis. Firstly, our thoughts and prayers to the people of Ukraine and people impacted by it. From a cybersecurity point of view, you might have seen various advisories from various cybersecurity agencies and governmental bodies. It could be from the US Department of Homeland Security to even the Australia Cybersecurity Centre or ACSC, and even the NCSC of UK and New Zealand have also issued similar advisories. They are all pointing to the same security theme, basically asking businesses to adopt a more enhanced cybersecurity posture with a sense of urgency, basically. I think what they're trying to achieve is to help us to prepare and mitigate risks and threats that might come from distributed denial of service, phishing, and ransomware. So from CSC perspective, you might ask, what are we doing then? We are also advising our customers to amp up their effort in domain and DNS security in their review as well, especially since domain and DNS attacks have been common tactics being used by cybercriminal groups to nation states against government and enterprises. Currently, we're engaged with a number of customers to assess their risk and also provide tangible recommendations on what they can do. We want to make sure that you are also, you're also able to enjoy this input from CSC. You can get in touch with us if you like a digital asset review checking on your domain security posture, or if you like a copy of the CSC domain security checklist, or even place a validation call with a trusted CSC representative so that we can discuss and address these gaps together. Just in the last week, we published a new blog just on how to interpret these advisories for your internal environment. If you'd like to read that, the link is provided here, or you can get in touch with us as well. The second point I want to raise is also quite related to the topic I just spoke about. We released the CSC Domain Security Report in June 2021. This is the second release we have published, and we have analyzed the global 2,000 or large enterprises on their domain security posture. The statistics here, unfortunately, is not looking really good. A lot of these large enterprises in high percentages are not even implementing registry logs for their vital domains. And a lot of them are also not implementing DNSSEC and CA policy for their DNS and SSL as well. Only half of these organizations are only using DMARC for their email authentication protocol. I think in the last year, we have actually done a similar review for the Australia Stock Exchange top 100 companies. The good news is the statistics are a lot more favorable. A lot of the large companies in Australia are doing their part in increasing their domain security posture. So in the report as well, you can see that we have created some of the phishing trends and studies, and we also have statistics by industries. If you would like to have a look at that, you can download the report from our blog as well. The findings from the report has been featured in some external media, including Dark Reading. As you can see, one of the writers have actually mentioned some of the CSC research as well in their blog sites. I would also like to draw attention to you on a very interesting paper I've read actually in the recent months. It is actually issued by the Australia Cybersecurity Centre, or the ACSC. it published the DNS or domain name system security for domain owners. Basically, this report touches on the 6 types of common attacks against domain names, ranging from typo squatting, domain name, to DNS hijacking, denial of service, DNS spoofing, to unauthorized zone transfers. So this report touches on basically what each of these attacks are and what are the measures you can take to mitigate the threats. I would recommend you to have a look at that as well. Just on typo squatting, I found the reading and the research quite interesting, and is very much akin to what CSC has been observing as well. From our perspective, we have seen a lot of domain spoofing tactics being initiated through domain names, such as fuzzy matches of domain names being created, homoglyphs of the IDN or internationalized domain names, cousin domains, keyword matches to homophones. We created an example on cscglobal.com so that you can relate how they relate to each of these categories being mentioned here. I shall quote and unquote the ACSC paper. Basically, it says that domain owners should really consider the benefits of registering additional domain names that could be reached through common typo errors. And these names, once they have been registered, they should be directed at the DNS level so that consumers and users can reach you via your legitimate website. And there is a nice example that they created over here. For example, if you own example.com, please consider registering examples.com, which is the plural version of the name, example.net or .org, which is using a different TLD, example.1, which is using a numeric 1 to replace the L, and example.com, which is a common typo or misspell or mispronunciation, so to speak. Because this is a DNS paper by the ACSC, I think it's important we also review what they are recommending when you're working with a DNS provider. The ACSC noted that commercial providers out there have the scale and the performance to deliver good DNS infrastructure to you. And they cited, I believe, 7 points to look out for. Choose a resilient DNS provider that can provide you with wide geographical distribution, provide any casting and load balancing, has a service level agreement, gives you 24/7 help desk to providing DNS health monitoring. This is very in line with what CSC has been advising our customers over the years. So if you'd like to address this in greater detail, we can definitely help you with that. Next up, I think it would be really nice to kind of let you know that we have partnered with Security Scorecard for a strategic alliance. Security Scorecard is a global leader in cybersecurity ratings, while CSC ourselves, we lead in domain security solution. We jointly released a comprehensive research detailing the impacts of an organization's choice of domain registrar on their overall security rating. The joint white paper released the findings of security ratings of more than 50,000 most followed companies on our platform. The research shows that companies that select enterprise class registrars, or ECR in this case, for domain management have a total score that is on average higher than those that use a consumer grade registrar. Again, the findings has been featured in some external media, which you can have a look if you like to review that. Lastly, I think it would be nice to let you know that our big baby is here. The baby is called DomainSec. You might have received a letter, if you're a customer, from our CTO, Mr. Ehab Schramm, to talk about DomainSec being a cybersecurity platform that we have invested in over the years to create the industry's first holistic approach for securing and defending brands' domain ecosystems. It combines machine learning, AI, clustering technology to provide leading indicators of compromise. We have a nice video about DomainSec and a blog as well if you want to find out more about this.